So, vaccines, COVID, and all that stuff. For those for whom we have an email address, late yesterday afternoon, we sent out a message, which is basically this letter. For those without emails, or at least we don't have your email, there are a few copies of this letter printed off. So if you don't have email or weren't able to access it, please grab one of those on the way out. A lot of thought and discussion has gone into this, not only at parish level, with parish council meeting last week, discussions with the archdeacons, discussions with the bishop, and all the clergy in a conversation with Bishop Murray on Friday morning. So a lot of thought and care has gone into this. There are two really serious theological principles that we're having to honour. The first is that we really do have to obey the government unless it's a matter of profound conflict with our core convictions as people of faith. So if we were being told by the government to do something which meant, in effect, denying our faith, well then we would choose not to do that, and the Dean would be the first person arrested and carted off to the lockhouse, which is really only a few steps away from the deanery, so it might be quite comfortable in a way, although I suspect not. But that's not what we're dealing with here. We're talking about the government taking measures designed to keep people safe and to prevent the spread being any worse than it's going to be. So all else being equal, we're going to obey the government. It's got to be a really serious issue of principle for us to go out in protest against the government. There are such times, but this is not one of them. The other key principle, of course, is that we are obliged to love one another. And loving one another in this context means doing what we can to keep each other safe. That's how we love each other in the context of a pandemic. So one of the ways we love each other and demonstrate that we love each other is we get vaccinated. Unless there's some serious medical reason, and less than 1% of the population, probably 0.01% of the population, will actually be eligible for a medical exemption because of some contraindications. So again, the most obvious thing that we have to honour is that we want to make decisions which keep each other safe. So in the spirit of generally obeying the government and always trying to keep each other safe, Parish Council and then yesterday the wardens and myself have been talking and discussing and considering and wrestling almost around these issues. So the first thing is, of course, there was no change for today. So a little bit tongue-in-cheek, when the message I sent out yesterday, I said the first thing you can do is come to church today, because the rules today haven't changed. The second thing, which will apply from next week, so let's be clear, from tomorrow onwards, for any religious service happening in the cathedral or at All Saints or any other church or place of worship in Grafton, only people that are double vaccinated are allowed to come into that place of worship. Okay? Now the obvious problem is, well, how do we know whether people are vaccinated or not? Okay. So people who are not doubly vaccinated are simply asked not to come to church for the next 3 weeks. As we know, most people only come to church about once a month anyway, so for some of us, that actually won't be a problem. If we're here today, we won't be back for another 3 or 4 weeks, so it won't be a problem. It was a long time ago that people came to church every week as a rule. So the first thing is, it's not going to affect very many of us, but for people for whom missing church in the next couple of weeks is going to be a significant spiritual challenge, it might be there's a health question, it might be it's a significant anniversary or birthday, then we will bring communion to you in your home. Okay? People will not miss out on the sacraments just because they're unable to come inside the church building. So if you know of anybody who's unable to come to church under the government rules and they're really finding that's a problem for them, a spiritual problem, tell them to ring the office and one of the clergy, maybe Grant, it may be Camellia, it may be me, one of the clergy will come to their home and offer them a simple service and an opportunity to receive communion. So we will, and again, that's part of loving each other, being there for each other. So there will be a fairly prominent notice outside the church as of tomorrow morning, telling people when the doors are open that the government requires them to be double vaccinated. So anybody 16 years of age or over who's coming to the cathedral or to All Saints Church in Lawrence or any other place of worship in Grafton must be fully vaccinated, and that means 2 doses of a government-approved vaccine. After this Sunday, please don't come to church, don't come to a funeral if you're unable to demonstrate your vaccination status. Let me tell you what would happen if you do. Next Thursday, there's a funeral being planned. If everybody at the funeral is double vaccinated, they can have up to 75 people, given the size of the cathedral. If even one person comes to that funeral who's not double vaccinated, there can only be 10 people in the building. Okay? It'll have a real world impact on the family if one unvaccinated person tries to come to the funeral on Thursday. And similarly, of course, we would simply have to abandon the service next Sunday if people who were unvaccinated insisted on coming into the building. Who's going to volunteer to be on the door next Sunday? No, not me, please. Okay, you get the challenge we're facing there. So we're asking people to be... Roger, were you putting your hand up to be on the door? So one way of helping with next Sunday is if you are already double vaccinated, and most of you are, and if you have your certificate or your phone app or whatever it is, drop into the office during the week, let us see your vaccination certificate, maybe take a photocopy or whatever. Then next Sunday, you're in the fast lane. Okay? Because we'll have you on a list as well. We know Brian's right. Okay, we know Lynn's right. We'll just go tick, tick, tick. Those people come in, no problem at all. And there'll maybe be 1 or 2 people who we actually have to ask, can you just speak to us about your vaccination status? What have you had done so far? And actually, Grant has volunteered to be on the door for the next 3 Sundays, seriously, with anybody else who wants to be with him, just when we need to have that conversation with, let's face it, not more than 1 or 2 people. Well, is that likely to happen? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had 33 extra people who'd never been to church before turned up next Sunday and we had to quiz each of them? But that's probably not going to be our problem. Okay, so if you haven't seen the email, or if you don't have email, or if you haven't given us your email address, please grab one of those letters on the way out.